Hey folks, Mike Shea here from slyflourish.com and on Twitter at twitter.com/slyflourish. Hey folks, and Mike Shea here from Sly. God, I didn't mute the thing. As I've done in weeks previous, I have a game today. Normally I have a game on Sunday. My Sunday game got canceled. That was my Tomb of Annihilation game. And my irregular sort of monthly Princes of the Apocalypse game is happening today. So I thought I would do a show and a video on my preparation for my Princes of the Apocalypse game. Sometimes it is hard for me to keep track of all of the games that I'm running, but such is life. This time I'm going to sit a little closer. Try to sit a little closer to the microphone. That's not going to work. We'll do that. I bought a boom. I'm going to have a microphone boom, so that might be better. So where are we? This game has 4 characters. Kurig, the dwarf cleric. He is a bounty hunter that dealt with the Cult of Fire before. Hasira, a tiefling rogue who is fiery herself, and toured with the bard Ganthelgrom, who we will get to, and was once the owner of the dagger that Arisi, I think it's Arisi, the air boss in Princes of the Apocalypse, her dagger. She's the one on the cover. Is there a cover? Cover art. That is her. That is Arisi. That is the dagger, and that is the spear that she turned it into. She said it was a dagger. I said she took the dagger and turned it into a spear. So that's how we do that sort of group storytelling thing. Ganthelgrom is a Goliath bard who believes in the sort of purity of Earth and thinks that anything that's trying to pervert the purity of Earth should be destroyed, and thinks also that fire is stupid. And then we have Granite, my wife's Earth Genasi fighter, and I really don't have a lot of background on her. I should have written more about her background, but on my lazy DM character sheet that I took a picture of before I did the show, there's nothing there. By the way, sound off in chat. I have my little chat window open while I'm going to be doing game preparation. I also like to just chat about D&D. So if you got any thoughts about what's going on in the world of D&D, let's talk about D&D. I love talking about D&D. I can talk about it all the time. As you notice, the outline here on the left-hand side over there are the 8 steps of Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master. This is the new version of Lazy Dungeon Master that is coming out this fall. I have good news for those of you who are Kickstarter backers. I got the first draft layout. So it's been written, obviously. It's been edited fully. It has been turned over to layout, and it has been laid out. And the only issue that stands now is there are a bunch of open spaces that we want to fill with art. One of my goals is to make this a book that lasts a long time, and I'd rather take a little extra time and get a little bit more art than leave blank spots in it. So if you hang around, I might even show part of it. XP Reaper Jaboob is running Lost Mines and is planning on throwing Princes right after. Not a bad idea. I will warn you, this is my second time running Princes of the Apocalypse. And hello, Dover Cook, a Pathfinder GM. We love all gamers here, so welcome. And I'd love to hear your thoughts about what you think about Pathfinder 2. I am excited for Pathfinder 2. I like new things. I'm just a guy that likes new things. And I'll be interested to see what they do with Pathfinder 2. I'm going to play it at Origins. I'm signed up to play a demo of Pathfinder 2, so I want to see. I got one thing that bugs me about it from what I've seen of the design of Pathfinder 2. I don't like how multiple attacks still have different attack bonuses. So if you attack once, it's at 1 bonus. If you attack twice, it's at a lower bonus. And if you attack 3 times, it's a bonus lower than that. That seems like a complication that we ought to be able to work our way out of, mostly because people like to roll lots of dice at the same time. Anyway, that's Pathfinder 2. I'm glad there is a Pathfinder 2. I think it's, I think the competition is good for all of us. I also like that they have made some design decisions that are very different from D&D. They believe in that maps and minis are expected. which I think is different than 5e, which supports maps and minis, obviously, but doesn't necessarily expect it. Yeah, the world building to try to tie princes to Lost Mines. It can be done. Princes is probably a harder adventure to run than, say, Curse of Strahd. I don't know if it's harder exactly. It requires a different kind of work than like Curse of Strahd or Tomb of Annihilation, and it's probably on par in difficulty with running Storm King's Thunder, because they're both very open, and it requires a lot of like sort of guidance and direction from the DM. One thing that I'm doing differently now in this run of Princes of the Apocalypse is I am not going to sort of lock down and force the story down a particular path in order to support level ranges. If they want to go down into a dungeon when they're too low level, that's fine. And if they out level stuff, they can go there and have a much easier time than they normally would. I'm good with both of those. Also, since this is a monthly game, I'm going to try to get them through more content faster. Everybody says this, right? I'm going to try to get them through more content faster so that they can sort of get through the whole campaign in like 12 to 14 sessions or something like that. I have no idea if that'll be possible, and probably it won't. But if I don't dilly-dally and I sort of get them to the places that they need to get, I think that could work out. But yeah, it takes a little work, and I started them at level 1 in this adventure. You can start them at a higher level. Like level 5 wouldn't be out of hand, but you pretty much want to have them walk right into Red Lark with everything already going on and sort of get them right to the fortresses. There's these like I forget what they call them. There's 4 overland fortresses that are tied to them, and they start at sort of 4th level and go around. And they so if they're 5th level, they'll be fine. But if you try to do all the intro stuff, it's going to be too much. So luckily, I think Princes is written with the expectation that you might run it after Phandelver. So I think that can work out. I think that won't be too difficult. The hardest part, and we'll get into this when I'm doing my little prep here. The hardest part is figuring out the seeds, the threads, the things that sort of connect the characters to the game and drive them forward. In my opinion, the adventure doesn't really outline those very strongly. So you kind of have to make sure that there's this drive that sort of moves them forward and yet doesn't force them down a particular path. So the whole thing about the Dwarven delegation, the Mirabarian delegation is sort of a main thread, but it kind of loses it, and you're kind of like, why do I still care about this? So you want to, I'm thinking of adding in like a sage who kind of says like, I've seen the future, and in the future, our city, bad things happen to our city. I've seen 4 possible futures. I've seen it burn like the fires of the 9 hells. I have seen it, drowned under the salt water of, the plane of water. I have seen it, I've seen cracks tear it into shreds and send it into the abyss. And I have seen, all the whole place blown apart, shredded by typhoons and tornadoes and great storms, blasted apart by lightning. I don't know which of these is going to happen, but it's up to you guys to help stop those from happening. And that, I think, is that helps drive the characters forward. So, Nothic is the elemental plane of fire. Yeah. So that's one thing I would do if you were in the middle of running Lost Mines. Throw some cultists in there. You might take those dragon cultists that are hanging around. I don't know if you're this far along in Lost Mines or Lost Mine of Phandelver, but if they go to Thundertree, the kind of ruined village, in Thundertree there's dragon cultists, which are meant to kind of tie this adventure to the larger Horde of the Dragon Queen and Rise of Tiamat. Hey, Grant Ellis, bad boy Grant is here. Thank you, Grant. You gave me suggestions about what I should do in this show. I should take a note. I am going to get a layout for my show, by the way, thanks to your recommendation. Yeah, so if they're about to head to Thundertree, I would take the cultists there, and I would. So the couple of things you might think about. One is, the cover art is great for Princes. The nice thing is in D&D Beyond, you have a digital version of the cover, and it looks gorgeous. as you can see. You might have a couple different cultists fighting each other. You could kind of roll randomly. Is it going to be earth versus fire or air versus water? And sort of have them fighting and have the dragon sort of, God, these people are pains in the asses, right? That might be kind of a fun thing to do. Or maybe one cult just wiped out another. So they find the bodies of one cult type, and then the other cult that's there is the other side. And you might even roll it randomly because, one of the things I want to constantly do is sort of roll randomly among the elements so that I'm not even aware of like which cult is making progress. That would be a good thread to stick into Lost Mine that would draw them forward. You could probably also have some culty activity inside the Lost Mines themselves into howling. What is it called? Crashing waves. That would be you might have some cult followings there. The other one, an easy one, and I kind of overdid it in this game because they're all like super aware of them, are the 4 symbols. There's these 4 key symbols to the elements, and the idea that like they find people with tattoos, or they pick up a weapon and the weapon has that symbol on it, and they just started connecting these like, oh man, so this is, and then when they figure out like, oh, water cult, like why? Because on that symbol in the rock, I see that crazy triangle symbol or whatever it is. I don't remember which ones are which. I hope everyone has their coffee today. I have my fine latte that I got from Starbucks right before I came here. Strong start. So, what is happening in Red Lark? I like to start with a fight. This group is much more of a roleplay group, so they might be less interested in a fight. But I am thinking they have been dealing with the Earth cult a lot. And I think it might be interesting if fire cultists came into town to face the Earth cult and say, I know you guys are here, and we're going to raise this town until you give us, those villains. And a fire cultist could be involved, sort of a raw fire cultist. And the party could either just beat them down or maybe negotiate their way out of it. I don't necessarily think that it has to end in combat. Again, this group likes role playing, so there might be better opportunity. Where are our monsters? Let's look at our Eternal Flame cultists and see if there's any of these guys we want to throw in. You'd think with a gigabit Fios line, I would have a faster connection here. Let's try that again. I sure hope my... Uh-oh. Let's try again. I don't know what happened. Adventures, princes. This adventure gets a bad rep, but I don't know. All adventures need work, and I don't mind this one so much. Eternal Flame Guard. Oh, look at that. CR2. So the characters right now, I think, are level 4. 4, yeah, I think they're 4th level. They got 2 levels in the first session, then they level each session afterwards, and I'll probably do that. So here's a Flame Priest. He's pretty badass. Fireball freaking destroy people though, but maybe that's a point, right? That he could. He's so maybe they have to. Yeah, look at this guy, Flame Wrath. It's like a sorcerer type. Razor Blast. All these names. Flame Priest is pretty high CR, but they're a rich group. So we will do a Eternal Flame Priest. Comes into town. I don't know if this is a great idea or not, but we'll put this on there and we'll see where it goes. And he brings some thugs, fiery thugs. I don't know what we'll do with the thugs that make them fiery. Maybe they kind of erupt. Their blood boils, so when you hit them, they do a couple points of damage to you. When they hit you, their blades are on fire. Strong start. Need a name. Let's grab a name. Our Flame Priest needs a name. Mika Fellchaser. That's not so bad. How about Mika the Ember? How many thugs? 4 characters. So we got some thugs. Thugs are CR 1/2. Characters are level 4. Thus, one CR1 character is roughly equivalent to each character, but this is a level 3. This is how we do encounter building in our head. So we probably don't need 3 or 4 thugs. We'll do 4. 4 might be tough. But they are CR. I don't know. We'll do 3. So Mika the Ember, Flame Priest, comes into town. He's pissed off, and he demands the Earth Cult. And the characters will have to sort of deal with them. They're fired up, and they're ready to burn the whole town to the ground. They say, like, this whole place is... But don't worry. Burning is the best thing that can happen to us. We love things that are burning. In fact, we're going to bring you fire because we love you. We burn because we love. So that's exciting. And that'll give them some opportunity. And they can learn a little bit about the flame cult. There will be some secrets and clues. These guys, I think, will work directly for the boss. Let's see. BT isn't a bad adventure. It means I would just benefit from maybe better organization. Yes, I agree, Grant. I really wish they would have, like, I don't know, a list of secrets and clues. And maybe they did it in some of the adventures. They said, like, here are all the NPCs. The problem is it's like, it's 150 NPCs in those adventures. I need them broken up somehow. And I need sort of the threads. And then they do the threads, but they're kind of the large threads. Yeah, the organization could use work. And but on the other hand, I'm still able to run it. And it gives me something to write about on Sly Flourish. So I can't complain too much. If you follow the main storyline and just rush through, you end up hitting like CR5 creatures level 2. That can be. It could be if they go the wrong way. I think if they kind of follow there is a level path, and if they sort of hit that path, I think they hit it all right. But like if they go to they could definitely take a right turn instead of a left turn and end up in a level 7 place instead of a level 4. John Amitho, thank you for coming. And yeah, you say that it takes a lot of work to reorganize for a roleplay heavy player. Yeah, it does. It is very dungeon crawly, I agree. And I think one thing that I'm keeping in mind is I don't have to go to all of them. Yeah, they can kind of go to a place. They can sort of deal with that. They can sort of go one level deep. And then the idea that like it's like 4 pillars of water, and when you push on any one pillar, the other ones rise up, right? And if you push 2 down, then the other 2 rise up even further. So the idea that they're all sort of interconnected, and as the party's screwing with one of them, the other ones are growing. But yeah, if they're not into exploration, that can be a problem. I think you can do a lot of role-playing in the dungeons. You don't have to sort of go from room to room killing people. So I think there's more opportunity for that. There's also lots of opportunity to infiltrate, to kind of become one of the cults if they sort of enjoy that thing. It is very dungeon heavy. I actually think one of the benefits of Princes is that it is this huge workbook. I've used dungeons that are in Princes for all sorts of other things. I took the Crushing Wave Caverns section, and I used that in my Storm King's Thunder game when they went to the purple rocks. So I really like using. I think the fact that it's got these really nice dungeons and it's got 12 or 13 of them are in there. I think those are valuable for other things. Just the maps alone are really valuable. Your players like killing things before asking questions, then you will get along fine. I think it can be run both ways, and this one does require more work than I think other ones do. I think also like the one right before it, Horde of the Dragon Queen and Rise of Tiamat also require a lot of work. Because they are very railroady, and if you want to have any variation at all, you're going to have to figure it out. Particularly in that beginning of Horde, where there's that big ass journey on, and it's like expected that you're going to infiltrate a caravan that's full of cultists. It's like, well, what if you don't? It can lead that whole thing astray. So that can be an issue. Thank you and welcome. John Amitho, it's good to have you here. I appreciate you spending some time hanging out with us, talking about D&D. What the hell are we talking about? Princes. So I think that having some flame cultists, the nice thing about flame cultists showing up is it's different. They've been dealing a lot with Earth, and they're kind of already veering towards Earth, and I want to just kind of say, hey, by the way, there's other ones. So that can work. Scenes that might take place. I have no idea, other than the beginning of this. So I think I do need to sort of get some direction. I think I am going to put an elven sage in here. What scenes might take place? Fire cultists come to town. I think an elven sage is going to warn them about all of the things that are going on. That there really is like a bigger apocalyptic problem that's going to take place. If we go to our, if we go to Red Lark here, man, I love being able to search. Local blacksmith. So this is pretty good. Like important characters. Who runs the All Faith? So Imdar Relvander. He is a human priest, follower of Tempest. I guess the human priest would be fine. And what does he follow? Tempest, the storm? So maybe he leans a little towards, towards the storms. But I think we'll stick with Imdar. So Imdar Revanter has seen they're all firing up. Something terrible, The ruins beneath the ruins. Yeah, Tempest is God of War. So we do have like these, I think that Granite, who's an Earth Genasi fighter, would be a good sort of connection point. What are their scenes? So it's possible hunting. You might visit the Spire to talk to the Elders of Waterdeep. But after this, it's going to spread out. I really don't know where they're going to go. So I'm not gonna outline a bunch of scenes. I think mainly I want to just sort of put things in front of them and make sure that they see it. So let's go to our secrets and clues. So I didn't really talk about the 8 steps. I talked about this before. And before anybody asks, my text editor is Sublime. Somebody every show asks what my text editor is, and that text editor is Sublime. Thanks to a friend of Grant's. Grant, who is the fellow that you sent me to get a template for Twitch? Whoever that was told me how to drag the windows around so that I don't have to show the windows themselves. I think it looks really nice. Anyway, he is building a template for me though, so I'll stick all this in a nice template. But right now, I think I'm pretty happy with how it looks. Although I would like a template. So wow, somebody else that uses Sublime for game prep. I wouldn't have expected that. Who are the characters? Number 1 question. Who are the characters? Put them in your mind. Think about who the characters are. Think about where they're from. Think about their backgrounds. And that way, while you're prepping all the rest of your game, you can put little subtle threads that connect to the characters. In my opinion, the number 1 piece of advice I can give about running D&D games, and remember that generally speaking, advice is bullshit because it's all based on individual experiences, and better is to aggregate experiences from lots of people. Grant and I talked about this on the DM's Deep Dive, that the idea that we have access to thousands of dungeon masters with all of their experiences, and we can kind of take them together and put them in a big pot and pick what we like and try all sorts of stuff out. It's fantastic. But I will say that one thing, and I picked this up from many DMs myself, and I think it matters, and it's worked a lot in my game. The number one general piece of advice I would offer is to really connect with the characters of the game. Understand who they are. Think about them all the time. You know, they should always be the center. Be heroes of them. You know, Dungeon World. Sage Latora and Adam Cobell talked about this in Dungeon World. Be fans of the characters. They are the heroes. I know we say it, but really, don't think about your stupid monsters or your big dungeons or your huge game world. Think about the characters. Think about what's around them. Think about what matters to them, and think about things you can put in their way that will bring them into adventure. You know, that fits them. That is, I think, the number one goal. And in organized play, I saw a DM, wonderful DM, who was running an epic. And she, when we sat down, she said to us, you know, give me your name, your class, your race, your passive insight, your passive perception, and one interesting thing about your character that really makes them unique in the world. She took it from 13th Age, the one unique thing. But like, what makes you? What's different about you? Give me a cool thing about your character. And you say like, well, you know, I'm kind of a lackadaisical pirate. You know, it doesn't have to be unique, but it's sort of like, what's the main? Tell me something about your character. I'm a lackadaisical pirate, or you know, I am always kind of whispering to an elder god that really no one else sees, or anything like that. And, you know, I don't know that it got used a whole lot, but she kind of asked that and brought that in, and she wrote it down. So even in organized play, you could just say, like, tell me a little bit about your character, you know, what drives them, and then write it down, and then think about how you can constantly steer it in. When you have it sitting in front of you during the game, it really helps. But it also helps to have it prep, which is why it's the number one tip. What's your strong start? What do you... Oh, hey, I've got a secret. Why don't we do this instead? Here's a little preview. We have here the laid out version of Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master. First time anybody's seen it other than like 3 of us. So congratulations on being able to see it. But we will use this as our, as you can see, here's the table of contents. And the first set of table of contents is all of the steps of the Lazy Dungeon Master. These 8 steps right here. We will go to these. But look at that. Look at that. Isn't that cool? Yeah, I love it. These big blank pages, we're going to put stuff here. This is where some of the art will go. Way of the Dungeon Master checklist. Look at the art, huh? Isn't that sweet? Did I have art? Yeah, look at that. Art's done by Pedro Patier, who did all the internal art. He's doing a bunch of new stuff. Number 1, review the characters. Who are they? What matters to them? You know, he's a quote from Nothing is more important to a campaign than the stories of the player characters. Chris Perkins said that. It must be true. I have it in the book. I also reference it in the back. Who are the characters? Create a strong start. Here's a quote from Matt Colville, right? Getting over that first hump, going from just a bunch of people sitting around a table to playing D&D is the hardest thing to do. One of the things that breaks through that is knowing where you're going to begin. We're going to begin with freaking fire cultists coming in and causing some shit. Look at that art. I just love it. It's fun art. There she is getting her minis. Outline potential scenes. We did that. Now this one is really... you know, it almost wasn't in the book, but it's like, well, people do it, and I do it occasionally, so let's put it in the book. What are the scenes? Yeah, Matt who? What are the potential scenes that will take place in a game? And you saw, like, I put like 3, and it's just enough to be like, yeah, I got some stuff. You know, I got some things I can do. You really don't need a lot, and it shouldn't, you know, prepare to throw it away. If the thing goes off the rails, throw it away. So short chapter on that. Define secrets and clues. Here's a secret. This chapter is the reason I wrote this book. And it's because it wasn't in the original Lazy Dungeon Master, and I think it's such a powerful thing. And we're going to do it right now. So let me drop back over to the other window. We'll come back to that if you guys want to see more of Lazy Dungeon Master. What secrets will they uncover? There is a cares. Where is my window? Jump to Exploring the Valley. Scarlet Moon Hall, right? And what's the... Oh, I'm terrible. There is a priest at Scarlet Moon Hall, and he let's go back to the main. Whoops. He has a religion that he runs. The reason why I'm stumbling around with this one is yeah, Dry Flagon, Circle of the Scarlet Moon. Small folk like this guy. This is the one where he's like, this is where I'm doing the homage to Wicker Man, clearly in the book. But, you know, the idea that just people sort of like it and everybody is bountiful and you know, this guy will solve our problems. He's not tied to any of these crazy cultists. You know, this is just, he's a normal dude. Well, no, the reality is he's tied to the to evil fire cultists. Scarlet Moon, they were brought to Riverguard, right? But there was a village. Here's the missing delegation. Wamford. So that connects us. You know, we want one secret clue for each of the cults, right? Feathergale Spires, where Waterdavian noble officers trained to ride griffins. There's been a lot of activity there. The activity will actually be them doing their regular chases against manticores and stuff. But it might get the attention of other folks. So that is fire, and that is... so we kind of have earth and water in the same place, right? I think they also have... the mountains, Sacred Stone Monastery, right? Mysterious monks. So those are 4 outstanding secrets that can help drive the characters to oh, I didn't know one. The thief. The thief who stole the Dagger of Air supposedly asked about Feathergale Spire, so she was headed there. The thief who stole it from our character, Hasira. We'll ask more about who this thief was. Whoops, I don't know what just happened there. So we have 4 that sort of tie to the cults. That sort of gets the cults in order. We have one, it might be nice to have one that's sort of tied to each of the characters, things that they could learn. Maybe one of Kurig's. One of Kurig's cousins was with the missing delegation. That might be nice. It's hot. Got hot in here. Coffee. Getting excited. What other secrets? 1, 2, 3. I like to do 10 secrets, by the way. 10 seems like a good number. 10 is usually enough. I tend not to use all 10, but it kind of gets my head in the right spot. One of Krug's cousins was with the missing delegation. What could help Granite? Maybe Granite has a vision. That might be a scene, though, right? So we don't want to tie a secret to an event, but Granite might have this vision. That might be a strong one. But what's something about what's going on in Earth? So there's kind of an interesting, one of the things I dig about Princes overall is I love how the adventure has like ruins on top of ruins on top of ruins. See if I can find the history. Does history have it? Yeah, so the lands have old bones, ancient ruins that go back literally like 6,000 years ago, right? But I think it's even older. Earliest realm of the Besselmere was founded nearly 6,000 years ago. But I think they actually dug and found something. Then orcs came. But I think the Fane, right? The main yeah, so that's the secrets, right? They do kind of separate this stuff out. You can always delve deeper. That is right, Grant. I thought there was more. Rise of Elemental Evil. They kind of spread it around, though. It's one thing that they don't like have a nice timeline. Hey, my friend James Grammell is online. Hi, James. We have another fellow in here who's a Pathfinder DM. And we were chatting about Pathfinder 2 just a little bit ago. Maybe you guys can convince me that changing attack bonuses depending on different attacks is a really good thing, because I don't see it. I am looking through lore here. Where's the thing about finding the fane? Dwarves discovered, yeah, so the dwarves discovered an ancient drow temple below. 10 centuries is 10,000, no, 10 millennia, right? 10 centuries is 1,000 years. Older than nearly 100 centuries. Three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine, 10. So I have my 10 secrets. We might have more. We'll come back. They delve too deep. I love it when people delve too deep. Drums in the deep. What fantastic locations might they explore? So I can come up with some stuff. I'll probably come up with one. Why don't we, if you will give me a moment, we will pull up another book. Let us, you know what I don't have? A stupid dice. I keep forgetting to bring my dice. Lazy Dungeon Master Workbook. This is the prototype of the other book of Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master. And we will, so in our, this is Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master, laid out nicely. And we are going to go to, oh, don't look at that. That's where art's supposed to go. Develop fantastic locations. What is a fantastic location? We need an evocative name. Location aspects, what makes a location fantastic? How many do we need? And here are a bunch of examples. Look at that. Whole nice section. Oh, more art. Definitely need art. But we're going to have some cool art. Be brave and embrace the largest, wildest themes of your campaign, says Wolfgang Bauer. He is quoted in this book. Wolfgang is a fantastic dude. So, in our Lazy Dungeon Master Workbook, we are going to make some fantastic locations with an ancient monument. So, let us roll some virtual dice. Wizard's Dice Roller. You're not seeing this because it's on the screen, so you're going to have to suffer through. We will roll a d20. We have a 9. That is a buried. They're going to find something buried. We're going to roll again, and this time we have a 7. A buried abyssal. Uh-oh. Now we're going to roll a pair of hundreds. We got an 83. A buried abyssal mirror. That's freaky. And a final d20 gives us a 7 again. Buried abyssal mirror of poison. Let's write that down. So maybe they find something buried here, and it actually could show them the ruins deep beneath. It's some sort of portal or connection, right? A demonic portal. Reveals the fane. Oh, sorry, I'm on the wrong screen again. Let's go back to here. That's not the right window. Do you see my dice roller now? You do see my dice roller. All right. We're going back to this. So if we go back to princes, the final place, right? The temple of the elder elemental eye. The fane of the eye. So this is sort of the central, I believe, right? This is what the drow temple. And then there's the elemental nodes. So they're going to see something here. So maybe what's 19? So we have a stair, a howling pit, a wind prison, a harpy's nest, rust monster pit. Crushing wave lizard king. I want them to see something really scary. Hall of Black Crystal. Weird crystals jet out from the fall in this ancient hall, giving a violet light. From a distinct doorway or gate beyond which the floor slopes downwards. 2 huge bedrolls. So that might be kind of cool. So I think it'll give them a view, like it'll kind of flashes on this thing. We'll show F13, F14. I want them to just sort of get a view of like what's ahead. This giant minotaur. Conjuring room, so F17. And do one more. Ooh, a drow tomb. F18. What layer of the abyss do they end up on? I don't know. That would be scary. But they might see a demon. Maybe I'll replace the hill giants with Hezro. I love Hezro. One of my favorite demons. So those are some. That's one location. They can find an abyssal mirror of poison. They'll find it out like in the rocks wherever they're heading, sort of half buried. Maybe it got lost. I don't know. We'll figure that out. But the idea that there'll be this mirror that sort of peers into some of the lowest levels, and they'll be like, "Oh my God, we're actually seeing this thing," and then maybe it'll break. Perhaps with a high enough Arcana check, they can just open it and step right in, and then they're down in the lowest levels. That would be really bad. So the NPCs that they might meet. The main one, I think, will be Imdar Ravonder. Any other interesting NPCs they might meet? I don't know. It's highly dependent on where they go. Monsters they might face. Cultists, of course. But we'll probably roll randomly on this. So I don't think I'm going to worry too much about setting up monsters ahead of time. I do have those monsters that we picked up in the first one. Didn't I stick them in here? Yeah, Flame Priests and Fiery Thugs. Magic items. I need to ask them the question of what kind of magic items they would like. Otherwise, I think I will just roll randomly. So I don't think I'm going to worry about that either. So this one, unlike many of my games, no, that's not true. A lot of my games kind of end up this way. I really don't know where I'm going to end up. I don't know where things are going to go. I do have, I'll tell you what kind of prep I am going to do beyond this, which is my game starts in 2 hours. Yeah, 1 o'clock is when my game starts. So I got a couple hours. I'm just going to get the book, Prince of the Apocalypse, which I really haven't read. I never really read the whole thing, frankly, which is terrible. But I'm just going to kind of skim that section, mostly on like the dungeons, just sort of fill my head with more from the book itself. Give it a good solid skim read. And that will hopefully help me come up with ideas while I'm running it. Other than that, I think I will let them explore. The main thing is that they have a drive to go somewhere, that there are, I think some of the secrets are that, maybe this is another secret I need to add in. That's important. For they already know about this, like the 4 leaders, right? 4 mortals are attempting to unleash the Prince of the Apocalypse. They are hidden by followers who reside above ground. So they are being hidden. That's an important thing. So yeah, how do I feel? So this is the question I always ask while I'm doing my game prep after I got my game prep, which is how do I feel about it? The truth is, I still don't feel like I have great threads that sort of drive the players to explore. I don't want them to kind of stand at me and be like, well, where should we go now? What do we do? That probably means my secrets are not as nice and tight as they could be. There's sort of like things to explore, right? And there's sort of like this urgency that I'm putting on it, which is like bad stuff is happening. But I probably could do... I probably could tie this tighter. So I might think about this more while I'm reviewing the book and say, are there tighter ties? Maybe kind of looking at the characters here. There's all this sort of existential stuff. Like, oh, you get visions of stuff. Like, that's great. Where do I go? Right? Like, great. I have a vision that terrible things are happening below. Where do I go? That's kind of how do you get from point A to point B? What matters? What ties? What events will they see that tie them directly to, to it? So like they see the fire cultists and they see the symbol of the fire cultists. Maybe someone else. Where is it? Charismatic priest. So we add a little fire cult symbol, like, the symbols are what can kind of tie point A to point B. So it could be sort of like, well, we saw pirates. The pirates actually had the symbol of the crushing wave. The symbols are the things that they can sort of track and follow and go, I bet you that there's more to say about this priest up on that hill. That doesn't sound quite right. And the fact that we got attacked by true fire cultists, the fire cultists that come to town actually work for, the main villain of, main villain of the adventure. Let's see if I can. Marlos, Erlin Ray, and Gar Shatterkeel. Vanifer. These guys are Arisi Kalanoth. With hooks in the adventure with my party, I've learned that while stopping evil is all right, motivating good is better. So that's interesting. So stopping, what's an example? John Amitho says motivating good. Would that be like rescuing the delegation? Are you talking about like sort of setting up, setting up, helping folks, establishing maybe restoring the heroic bastions. It'd be difficult seeing progress. That's true. Actually, in my Tomb of Annihilation game, which I've talked about, they've made a lot of progress. They now own boats and stuff. So it's possible that they could sort of like recover and rebuild. That is an interesting insight. I think I'm gonna bring in an idea that perhaps as part of the warning, they say, once so maybe the fact that part of Princes is that there were these 4 bastions, and maybe the truth is that the bastions will be, that part of the prophecy can be that they recover those bastions. Maybe they become the adventurers that will restore those bastions to their power and protect the Desserin Valley again. So I like that idea. It's more than just stopping bad guys, but it's sort of gaining what footholds can they gain. I think there could be something to that. I think that maybe they will slowly recover these places and sort of almost building their own establishments, or rooting out the cult and then putting in their own sort of protection in these places. Might be interesting. Maybe they'll have to run into some interesting NPCs that could do it. They could be friends with the Lich inside the monastery, for example. That might be cool. Yeah, so I still feel the same way that I felt about this one before, which is I have a little bit of trouble with those hooks, but I think by and large will be okay. Kind of if we jump back over to that's that book. We'll jump over to Lazy Dungeon Master. Fantastic locations, art, and outline important NPCs. We keep it brief. What matters? What doesn't? Character archetypes. And you can sort of, I say this. I kind of put this paragraph in a few. Skip these steps if you don't need to. You don't necessarily need to have every one of the 8 steps in every time we do our prep. It's what helps you, kind of outlining. Hey, look, we need more art. Choose relevant monsters. Yeah, we don't have any boss fights. Prepared to improvise combat encounters. And then magic items. Select magic item rewards. Big question is, what do they want? So we can go randomly, but I want to build a loose wish list. What are the kinds of things that they would like? And the hard part, and I did not do a good job of this, is I don't know what magic items they have now. So I have to ask a couple questions. What items do they currently have? And what sort of things would they like? I'll tell you one magic item they could have. This is that fiery crown. That's always a fun one. What is the name of that item? Items, official magic items. It is a wondrous item. And it's a crown or a helm that fires fiery rays. Is that circlet of blasting? That sounds right. Yeah, circlet of blasting. That'd be a good one. We'll throw one of those in there. I think the cultists will be wearing one. Since they're fighting flame guys, that one makes sense. So I got a strong start anyway. All right. Well, it is 11 o'clock. We spent an hour. Does anybody else have any interesting things going on with D&D? Have you guys gotten your Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes? And if so, what do you think? You guys like it? I got a copy. I've been playing around with it. I've been reading it. I actually found I didn't like the demon chapter as much as I would like, mostly because I've been reading about demons for 40 years. It was fine. It was good, and I think it's great to sort of have like the 5th edition version of stuff. But I'm reading the section on elves, and like I never really dug into the lore of elves, and I guess maybe it's slightly different than what the normal one is. But I've been really enjoying that chapter so far. So I really like those chapters. I think I complained already enough on Twitter about the fact that I think boss monsters aren't hard enough. They just, CR20s are not going to be any challenge at all for level 20s. Not even close. Oh, cool. A Tal'Darai campaign. Yeah, if you're a big Critical Role fan, if you've got a group that's a Critical Role fan, that are Critical Role fans, I think playing in Tal'Darai would be really neat. Yeah, I know. The Elven lore really... I want to make Elven characters too. Yeah, I really like the Elven stuff. That's sort of... I was talking to my wife and I were laughing because we went out for our morning walk today. And I said, okay, we have an important conversation we need to have about elves. And then she and I spent an hour or half an hour taking a walk and talking about elves. And both of us enjoyed that. So I thought that was fun. And so I like that. I think I really want to hear more about Shadar-kai. And if there's any sort of new take on the Drow. I want to hear about... I know, like, the Githyanki Githzeri stuff. I sort of read about that in the Monster Manual, so I have an idea. But I guess it would be interesting if they went deeper on that. So I like it. I kind of miss that in Volo's Guide. It had lair maps, and I thought those lair maps were really good. Maybe it turns out like nobody actually used them. But they're beautiful maps, and I know I stuck them in my Schley stack. My big stack of digital maps that I keep on hand. Because I always want to have maps like that handy. And I know that if I was going to be running a lair for a Beholder or a more Mind Flayers, I would definitely be using those maps. So it's almost too bad there isn't sort of like a demonic, lair of sorts. I guess it doesn't exactly lend itself to the style of the book. It's just something I missed. But other than that, I like it a lot. I think they definitely hit that sort of high challenge rating group. They've got lots of interesting monsters in it. I'm like 40 pages in my full read, and I've skimmed it before, but I like it a lot. So, well, I'm going to head out. This has been a fun show. I hope you have enjoyed what we've been talking about today, and I want to thank you all who came live. I want to thank you all who are watching it on the YouTubes, and I will see you guys in a week. Take care.